Thanks for checking in with us again this week. Marty here with you at Warehouse and Operations as a Career, and I'm a bit excited about today's episode. We have our go-to WAOC Safety man in the house. Well, on the line, actually. Joe, how have you been, my friend?
Recovering from the holidays, probably like the rest of us are, sir. And, as usual, great to be here.
I know what you mean. All of our listeners out there, last Thursday was Thanksgiving here in the States. I'm still eating on all the desserts left sitting around the house. Now, I know you just came off the road. You traveled quite a bit in November, didn't you?
Yes, sir. Anytime our company starts up, I have to be there to verify a safe work environment and workplace for our employees, whether they're here or out of state or in Alaska or wherever they may be.
Now, Joe, you're from Texas. I don't think you could sustain a trip to Alaska right now, bub. It's a bit colder there than our 73 degrees here today.
That's right, sir. From Texas.
I hate talking about things like this, but I recently heard about another accident that resulted in a fatality within our industry, one that happened at the loading dock. I checked out a few different articles online and found a really interesting one at upsideinnovations.com on 10 most recent loading dock injuries. Check it out. They have a hyperlink in the article with a loading dock safety checklist that I found it to be really interesting. The article begins by naming top 5 warehouse injury areas. Number 1 was the loading docks. I think some of us wouldn't have picked that as number 1. Number 2 was forklifts. I guess this is where your PIT or powered industrial truck training comes into play, Joe. Maybe I can sneak in my never get on or operate any machine or piece of equipment you have not been trained to do so statement right here. Conveyors. I've seen loose clothing and fingers, especially when we wear the wrong size or tattered gloves, get caught up in the conveyors. Number 4 was material storage. Again, the importance of securely stacking or building our pallets and the proper placement or racking of them is so important to keep things from falling. Number 5, manual lifting and handling. I think this is where good ergonomics training comes into play or, importance. I myself have to agree with her number 1. We can never be too safe around a dock area. I find myself, letting my guard down when I'm standing in the dock areas. Maybe it's because we can see the daylight or the outside environments. I don't know what it is, but I have to make myself pay attention when I'm up there. Let's just quickly review their listed 10 incidences. Now be sure to check out the article. I'll put the link in our show notes today. Now each one of these is an individual article. The first one is employee crushed and killed between a truck and loading dock. The second one, worker crushed by dock level is killed. Worker is killed in fall from loading dock. Employee is crushed when forklift drops off a loading platform. Employee is struck and killed by falling truck wall panel. Employee is crushed when forklift falls from loading dock. Employee sustains heart attack and dies. I believe number 8 is employee is caught in between a tractor trailer and the loading dock. Number 9, employee crushed by forklift. And number 10, employee is crushed between truck and dock and is killed. We all know, and I hope we're taught and trained on the dangers of our front dock. There's a lot of precautions taken up front to keep us safe, from things like security, procedures with tractors and trailers, to locking systems, etc. Joe, what are you teaching and preaching out there in the field? I guess, what are you seeing out there?
Well, what we want to get out there is that dock safety and a safe workplace starts with you. If you have a job on a dock and you aren't going out to see for yourself that the truck is in fact chalked, well, then you're kind of trusting in fate and, the magic 8-ball and angels to keep you safe instead of you assuring that you work safe. Dock workers have to be proactive to keep safe, even if it means going outside in the rain when it sucks to be outside, to verify that the safety processes have been taken.
Joe, I agree with you, and I guess it's safe to say that safety period begins with you. What do you think of that loading dock safety checklist I sent over to you? And I'm going to go ahead and add it to our show notes also at warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com for our listeners as well.
Well, it's a real good place to start, especially if you work in a smaller warehouse environment where nothing is set in place. Not every single warehouse is going to be highly regulated, like say, one of the big food giant warehouses. We all need to be familiar with our specific work site, equipment, and processes, and taking similar precautions on all docks is to our benefit. The checklist is a real good place to start, developing those positive habits that we need.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Every dock is a little bit different, but overall the rules, they pretty much remain the same. Let's kind of walk through the inbound cycle as we know it. Kind of maybe discuss the A to Z process. I guess first off, there's security. I know several DCs utilizing a guard shack, kind of a secure gate approach. Why and how is that being used?
Well, it's the initial entry point. This is critical in the logistics of offloading the truck and getting the merchandise inside, knowing the size of its contents and, strategically placing it where there's going to be room on the dock to offload this and rework the load and not overload the dock and not impede other traffic that's inbound.
Very good point. Congestion, congestion is one of the major factors in especially, pallet jack accidents. I think the next step could be securing the trailer or container to the dock. What's some of the choices or procedures that you're seeing used?
With all that happening on the dock, lots of traffic, lots of trucks, it's crucial to make sure the trucks and trailers are secure and get secured. Most modern and newly built warehouses have dock restraints like, the dock lock system or a right height system. That uses hydraulics and actual hooks to secure the trailer to the building itself. Otherwise, the need for good old-fashioned floor manual wheel chocks is never going to go away. That's what the majority of warehouses in our industry and every industry that has a warehouse are currently using. There's some fancier dock restraints, like the rails that have the little tube that goes in front of your wheel, but from what I've seen, there's a lot of failures with those, a whole lot of maintenance that's needed. So we all really depend on that little piece of rubber that's a chock that's chained to the building wall and its maintenance and making sure that it's available.
That's true. Almost every place I see with the more modern locking systems, they all still have wheel chocks out there in their yard and available for the drivers to use. Now that we've got the loads and the dock connected, what's some examples of our responsibilities as associates, or I guess us as managers, to make sure that we're training our employees on? What procedures are you seeing in place, and what thoughts can you add to them?
What every facility needs and what I've seen in place in most facilities is a docking procedure or a docking checklist. It needs to reinforce physically seeing for yourself that everything's been done, the truck's been chalked and or restrained, and makes you go through all the, the safety steps every single time. That's going to be the only way of, assuring that you're going to be in a safe workplace, in a safe work environment. You're not going to have to worry about the truck taking off on you. And, just building that habit is going to pay off in the long run.
Absolutely. I know pallet jack and forklift operators that will not enter a trailer to unload or load until they themselves make sure that trailer is secured to the dock. I'm a bit ashamed to say it, but it took me 3 near misses in my early years to learn it the hard way. Once I lost a dock plate. Yeah, that thing moved about 4 inches in the dock plate. It was one of those set-in-place dock plates. I lost it. Once the trailer rolled forward about 8 inches with myself and my pallet jack in it. And my most embarrassing one was I even had a driver pull away from the dock with me standing inside the trailer. That's not a good feeling at all. One of those feelings that makes you kind of chase your lunch away. Joe, when I'm researching something about safety or occurrences and reading through an incident investigation report, I always try and think of what sideboards or procedures can be put in place to prevent something from happening again. I'd like to believe all accidents could have been prevented. Now, that may not be the case always, but if we're all diligent in our duties, it'd seem we could prevent them. I guess I'm talking about a culture instead of just a bunch of processes and procedures. I work with individuals regarding their jobs and tasks, attitudes, and perspectives quite a bit. that could be considered a work culture or our safety culture. Do you do any work or training regarding a strong safety culture? Lead us down that path.
Well, of course, Marty, all training is geared towards facilitating a safety culture, especially in those places where you can sense it, is lacking. The only way to remove the threat is to make the employees want to remove it and do things differently. The ultimate goal is for everyone to think safer, but everyone has to work as a team. That's kind of the trick to it. You can turn anything around as long as the change is welcome. And for everyone to, be able to go home in one solid piece is pretty good reason.
So true. A couple of weeks ago, we visited with Lavoie and Nelson on our safety meetings. How they prepare for them, why they're important, and how they as managers keep us as associates engaged. I think that engagement by all is what plants the seeds for that culture, don't you?
Oh yeah, it's definitely an upbringing.
Over the weekend in a new Facebook group called Warehouse Equipment Operators Community, the question was asked, where are the dangers found in the warehouse? And I found the answers really interesting and kind of spot on. A few things that were mentioned were the trailer yards and dock areas. Kind of goes along with today's topic nicely. Another member from Florida mentioned how dangerous broken boards from pallets can be with nails sticking up or equipment running over them. Oh, and another member from across the pond in the UK brought up the dangers of machinery and also mentioned heights when working with things like scaffolding or the cherry picker. I think discussing safety, sharing safety experiences, keeping safety in the forefront of our minds helps build and instill a culture of safety in us.
Correct. We've always got to pass on what we learned that's a positive and a plus to the new workforce that's coming on the scene now, to the younger people. That's going to be the only way that we can truly promote it and keep us all safe.
I'd agree 100%. Joe, as always, I'd like to thank you for your time today. I know you stay very busy, and we here at WAOC really appreciate your visit, sir.
Thank you very much, Marty. It's always a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to being here again, possibly.
And I hope each of you, our listeners, enjoyed today's episode, and I'd like to thank you for your time, and we hope we bring a little value to you each week. Let's all look at the safety culture within our facilities this week and step forward and change someone's outlook about safety. We may just be saving them or ourselves from an injury.